y'all have heard of the Nitro Deck, correct?
I have. Hey,
Yes.
You have one?
No.
You have it in front of you there?
Johnny's out of here.
Yeah, I'll see you guys later.
Okay, thanks,
All right,
Johnny.
bye, Johnny.
Johnny's like, I've heard it so much, I'm done talking about it. I was
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
show
sick and
his
tired.
latest freaking comic too. Anyways, the Nitro Deck.
Yeah.
This is the Plus.
That's the Nitro Deck
Always
Plus.
freaking weird.
I was gonna say that, like, man, the only person who has a Nitro Deck actually left, and then I remember that JJ exists.
Yeah.
I'm the reason he bought the Nitro Deck.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's right. The Nitro Deck is a way to slide your Switch into a Steam Deck-like enclosure and really give it.
Do you want a Steam Deck that runs at 20 frames per second?
Yeah, exactly. But no, the whole purpose of a Nitro Deck is to get everything in one enclosure and be more comfortable than the current Switch is, and just kind of give you the right amount of buttons, the right things in the right spot based on how you play. You know, how someone would play the game. So I actually have a couple weird controllers out there. I have that GameCube-ish purple thing from, I forget the name of the company. They give you the GameCube layouts. I have a couple other ones.
Thing that I forget that I got sent for review.
That
you clapped onto the Pro controller. Yeah. That was pretty sick.
Yeah, that's right. But you know, so Nintendo is very good about, or companies very good about creating these just weird designs for Switch controllers, because the Switch is essentially just a tablet. You can clip stuff onto it. So the Nitro Deck was a way to turn your Switch into a more professional gaming device. And obviously they received a bunch of feedback on the Nitro Deck, and what people liked, what they didn't like, what they could have improved on.
They moved the joystick.
And so they decided, you know, let's adjust it to come up with a new one, which just released. I think they announced it like 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Just recently released. The Nitro Deck Plus, and the different, here it is. You see my Switch OLED is in there. The big differences between the Nitro Deck and Nitro Deck Plus are they've moved the buttons down here. They made it essentially symmetric from both sides.
Yeah.
Which to me is not great, because I'm so used to having the ABXY buttons up here on every gaming device that I have. This is the one that's different now. Even the Steam Deck has them up top, right? And so this throws me off, and I really need to control games at different. This was impossible to play Doom with. It was impossible to play some of the FPS stuff. Like, it is a little more challenging. I don't say impossible. A little more challenging to dive into it. That's okay though, because this is direct to the feedback. And what I like about the aspect of this versus the regular Joy-Cons and all that kind of stuff is that, they move the buttons down here, but now they have these really cool, I think they're called like sidekick buttons. They have
sidekicks. That's the one I was curious about.
Here, and then they got 2 on the back. So they got these 6 buttons.
On the one that I have, the previous one, it just has the back buttons. It doesn't have the sidekicks.
So the nice thing about these sidekick buttons is that, and these are all called sidekick buttons now, is that you can obviously reprogram them. Very easy to reprogram. There's a program button on the back here, and I'll get to some of the other cool stuff about this device. But you can reprogram them so that my A, B, X, Y are now here and on the side here. So I don't have to go down here to get access to these. Now that, to me, suddenly this device, sorry, my big ass hands. Let me make myself larger over here.
Taylor.
There you go. So suddenly this becomes very ergonomic to me, because I'm no longer doing this for controls. Now everything is, the meat of my hands, the palms is in the right spot. I'm controlling everything with these buttons. I'm using the back buttons and the sidekick buttons, and I can use all those programmed correctly to do the stuff that I want to do. And I really like that aspect. And it's not a lot of fidgeting that you have to do, because I know these buttons here are X and A, these buttons here are Y and B, because that's just the position that they are. And you have, the buttons on the side here, A and B here already. So great additions to this. I also like the incredible amount of fidgeting you can do with the settings to get this thing. And I'll post the pictures in the, turn off blur. I don't know. I'll post the pictures in the article that I'm working on. The amount of fidgeting you can do with the settings down to how strong you want the response to this button, the trigger buttons to kick in. Do you want them to be very easy, medium, high? Do you want you want to set the drift? Do you want to figure out the dead zones? Do you want to? And I'm like, I'm almost overwhelmed by you can change the brightness of all the buttons. It's almost overwhelming for someone who just wants a comfortable controller. But at the same time, once you fine tune this device to get it how you want it, it's really, really a cool device. And I think
Also,
it is the way to play Switch portably. Go ahead, JJ.
It's also Hall effect joysticks, so
yes,
no stick drift.
There's no drift at all.
Yeah.
The D-pad, the buttons actually feel really nice, even though they're a little bit on the kind of typical glossier side.
Yeah.
The D-pad feels nice because it does have whatever. It has a little bit of a concavity in there, which I like in the middle. So my thumb has a good spot to sort of sit and rock back and forth. A lot of times they'll be convex, which for those who don't know, I'm a designer, so I know all this stuff. Concave means like a bowl. Convex looks like a sphere. So you want them to be concave so your thumb has a spot to sort of sit in there, as opposed to convex, which your thumb will sort of drift to one side or other. Another cool aspect, I mean, obviously super easy to pop this thing on and off. There's a slider switch back here. You pop that and this sucker comes off. They have the nice cutouts down here. God, I really should turn off the blur on this sucker. They have the nice cutouts at the bottom for the blur off. There we go. They have the cutouts down here for the audio, and it's especially helpful for the OLED. I think this is sort of designed with the OLED in mind. Other cool aspects, obviously the kickstand. I'm not a big fan of this kick. It's very powerful. Like the hinge is really strong, but I love the OLED kickstand because it's just a big flat thing, and that to me feels a little better than the leg. I'm not a big fan of the leg, but has what you can see here as input and output. Input is power, so this is really just to plug it into the wall and let it charge while you're playing. Output is, so the version that I got came with the USB adapter. This sucker is a dock, so you can actually use this, plug it in, plug the HDMI in here. You need to have this plugged into the wall because it won't run just off the switch. You need to have this powered, and then all of a sudden the switch is docked. This sucker is docked, and you can actually play the games with another controller dock. And I think that is actually a really cool thing because I'm always wondering about carrying a dock with me when I'm visiting like family or hopping on vacation somewhere because I want to plug it to the TV. You don't have to with this. This is all you need. This $10 edition, you pay $10 more and it comes with it. And I think it's awesome from that aspect. And we tried it at home. It worked really great. This thing came in the mail today, and I started using it at like 4:30, and I've been using it nonstop to play Doom, to play other games, to play Mario Party. We hooked it up with to the big screen. Fidelity is great. I actually kind of like, there's a little notch here if you want to access.
Yeah, it's actually engineered really well for little things.
It really is. Like they understood the design of everything they needed to get. So
I will say that I'm kind of surprised how very little is different about the one that I have.
The
output is only used to use it as a controller elsewhere.
For yours,
for mine, it is.
For this one, they have, That is another cool aspect. Also, is that they've this can be used as a controller, whether it's plugged in directly or as a Bluetooth controller, which has Bluetooth built in. That's pretty cool. So a lot of functionality out of this guy is really surprising, and it's only like $60, $50-$60.
It's the only way I play my Switch now, really.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
This may end up being the only way I play my Switch. The only issue that I have is that I still like to dock my Switch to charge it because just so you drop it in something, and you can't do it with this because it's too wide.
I do want to know the rumble situation for that because
several
it's
levels, several
I
levels
know
of rumble.
ours is several levels of rumble, but it is just the cheapest, most vibraty rumble. It's not like rumble,
Yeah,
it's just vibration, and it's also very loud. So I
it
don't
still it still is.
Okay.
It's still not great rumble. I mean I haven't used the previous version. I'm only using this one.
Yeah.
The rumble isn't super.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite click with me. I mean, again, I was playing Doom, and Doom can get into some cases where the rumble is so bad in Doom that I think I ended up turning it off in Doom.
Yes.
And I can only imagine that it would shake and vibrate because there's a lot of hollowness in this guy. This is a plastic piece, resin piece that when this vibrates, because you look at a Joy-Con, they've done a good job of shrinking everything around this. So then when it vibrates, it's very meaningful, like purposeful. They've tested the heck out of this to get the HD rumble and the rumble aspects going. Once you add a bunch of air, that's going to affect the rumble no matter what. And that's why like the bigger controllers that are out there tend to have worse rumble than smaller controllers and more modern controllers. So that's just in general because of all the air and all the stuff in those controllers. Same with this. The only way I could think that they could improve the rumble is by changing the insides of this to take up a lot of that space, because I think that's to get this thing light and make it comfortable, you have to sacrifice some of the other aspects. But again, rumble doesn't affect me anymore. If it's loud and whatever, I play Doom in bed at nighttime, and the thing like rumbles like freaking crazy, and it wakes up my wife in the middle of the night. So, and that's just with these little guys. So, yeah. Anywho, the cracked is fantastic. I like this clear version. You can also they have a little. For no reason whatsoever, they have a little RFID tag in here where you can register it and see the rarity of your crack device, which is like, okay, whatever. If the interesting part is, if you ever want to get rid of this, like sell it or whatever, you have to remove it from your devices using the app and tap it back so it's no longer attached to your account, which is pretty funny. But they really want this. I think part of the reasoning is they really want these to be personalized so that it's something that you are going to want to use and have and really customize to your liking.
They sell replacement or additional stick caps.
Yes,
so you can
that's
change.
the whole thing with this. You can take these off, which you can't really. I don't know if can you do that in the previous crack.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I like that. In fact, when I was taking it out of this nice little bag they give you, this felt line bag, I'm taking it out and I'm like, where'd the caps go? They had ripped off as I was taking this thing out. And I thought it was broken, but no, it's meant to be that way. Take these caps
and they
off.
sell ones that like mimic other device types.
Yeah,
like,
cool.
Do you want them to be like GameCube sticks, or do you want them to be like Xbox sticks? They sell them that way. It's pretty cool.
So I guess likes on this guy, great weight. It's heavier than a Switch, but lighter than a Steam Deck. Feels really good. Placement of the buttons. I'm not a big fan of having the buttons down here.
It's funny because that was the biggest complaint. That's why they changed it. And you want it back the old way.
And I want it back the old way because that's how I'm used to playing. And that's again, a part of that is so many games are designed to have those buttons there. So you're playing a game because the developer knows X is always going to be in the same spot. So a good developer. So people will tap X first. Now, for me to get to X, I have to go down, or have to get to B, I have to go all the way to the bottom, which you can see my thumb. Here, let me do this. I have to do this. It's hard to see, but there's a lot of distance that I have to go to get this to hit those buttons. That's why they added the side kicks. That's great. So yeah, button placement, not the biggest fan of, but I can understand it. I'll deal with that because the side kicks work so well. I like the texture of the buttons here. I'm not a big fan of the glossiness because the buttons, I mean, obviously to get this thing as low cost as it is and to be that full of content, you have to kind of skimp in some places. So the texture, the buttons feel a little bit kind of chintzy, even compared to like the OG Switch buttons. These don't feel as elegant. Obviously, the gloss levels of the buttons aren't my favorite thing. I love that it's clear and white. I was almost drop it. Really cool. Not a big fan of this kickstand. I love how strong it is, but I don't like that it's a lag. Maybe future iterations they'll have just a wider thing. Input output is great. The amount of functionality in this thing, to me, makes this a must own for anybody that plays their games in
For,
portable
like,
mode.
The price of a Pro controller.
For the
too.
price of a Pro controller, and it's a dock. You get this thing for $10. This sucker is a dock, so you get a whole Switch set here, and I think that's a pretty killer deal. So yeah, really impressed with this. Some things I wasn't the biggest fan of. Again, button placement isn't my thing, but overall, I think this is a pretty awesome, pretty must-have device for folks. Definitely, I think because of the content, it surpasses the original Nitro Deck. So highly recommended this Nitro Deck.